By the time I made it to my car, I already knew the man inside the gym had been watching me. What I didn't know yet was that he had already been inside my life for hours before I ever saw his face. Disclaimer: this story is told like a real experience. Some details have been slightly changed for privacy and storytelling purposes. However, the events described are presented exactly how they were reported. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight's story starts in a place that should feel completely normal. A gym, late at night, almost empty. But sometimes the places that feel the safest are the ones where something can watch you for the longest, before you ever realize it. If you enjoy true story-style horror, disturbing mysteries, and realistic, scary stories, make sure you're subscribed, leave a like, and stick around for more. Now, let's get into it. I joined a 24-hour gym a few months ago because it fit my schedule better than anything else. I worked late most nights, and by the time I was free, the normal gyms in town were either packed or already closed. This place wasn't fancy, but it was always open, always quiet, and most importantly, it was close to my apartment. At first, I actually liked going there after midnight. It felt peaceful in a weird way. The parking lot would be mostly empty, the front desk worker would usually be half asleep, and inside the gym, all you could really hear was the hum of treadmills, the clank of weights, and whatever music was coming through your headphones. It felt like the whole town had gone dead, and only a few of us were still awake, scattered around that bright, empty room under fluorescent lights. I wore wireless earbuds whenever I worked out. I hated wired headphones because the cord always got snagged on something. Sometimes I'd leave my phone on one machine while I walked to the water fountain or to wipe something down, and if I got too far away from it, the music would go all staticky for a second before disconnecting. It had happened enough times that I knew the sound immediately. That detail matters. One Friday night, I got to the gym a little after 12:30 a.m. I remember checking the time because I was tired and almost talked myself out of going. I had just worked a double shift, my feet hurt, and the last thing I wanted to do was exercise. But I'd been trying to be more disciplined, so I drove there anyway. The lot was almost empty when I pulled in. There was my car, a pickup truck near the far curb, and one other dark sedan parked under a broken light where most of the lot sank into shadow. I didn't think much of it. A lot of people who used that gym worked weird hours. Inside, a young guy was sitting at the front desk scrolling on his phone. He gave me the quickest glance possible when I scanned in. I nodded at him, put my earbuds in, and headed for the cardio section near the front windows. At first, I thought I was the only one there. Then about 10 minutes into my run, I noticed someone in the reflection of the window. He was standing near the cable machines behind me, not using one, not stretching, not even holding a towel or water bottle. He was just standing there in a dark hoodie and a beanie, looking in my direction. I turned my head slightly, pretending to check the rest of the room, and when I looked directly at him, he immediately started walking. Not fast, just casually, like he'd already been on his way somewhere, and I'd imagined the whole thing. I told myself not to be weird about it. Gyms are full of awkward eye contact. People look around, people zone out. It didn't mean anything. I finished on the treadmill and moved to one of the seated leg machines farther back. I set my phone in the little compartment above the seat and started my first set. My music was loud enough that it blocked out almost everything else, and after a couple minutes, I forgot about the guy completely. Then, right in the middle of a set, the song in my earbuds crackled, just a quick burst of static. I stopped immediately and looked at my phone. It was still sitting right in front of me. I frowned. tapped the screen, checked that the music was still playing, and started again. A few reps later, the static came back, longer this time. Then the music dipped for half a second before returning. That didn't make sense. My phone was literally inches away from me. I took one earbud out and listened. The back section of the gym was quiet. Too quiet, honestly. The front desk was far enough away that I couldn't hear the TV above it. The only sound back there was the faint metallic creak of a machine settling after someone used it. Except I hadn't heard anyone using one. I looked around. That was when I saw the man in the hoodie again. He was at the far end of the back section, half hidden behind one of the chest press machines. I could only really see part of his face through the narrow opening in the metal frame. One eye, part of his cheek, the edge of the beanie, and he was absolutely staring at me. The second he realized I'd noticed him, he pulled back out of sight. I just sat there for a moment with my hands still on the machine handles, heart thudding harder than it should have. I'm not the type of person who confronts strangers. I never have been. Even when someone is clearly acting weird, my brain always tries to explain it away first. Maybe he was waiting for a machine. Maybe he wasn't looking at me. Maybe he was just spaced out. But deep down, I knew better. I got up, picked up my phone, and headed straight for the front desk. The employee was still sitting there. I told him there was a guy in the back section acting strange, staring at me, hiding behind machines. The worker looked tired and irritated, like I was giving him a problem he didn't want. Still, he stood up and followed me to the back. When we got there, nobody was there. Not by the chest press machine, not by the cable stations, not in the stretching area. It was empty. The employee looked at me with that expression people get when they're trying not to say you're overreacting. I apologized and told him maybe the guy had moved to another section. He just shrugged and went back to the front. I stood there for a few more seconds, suddenly embarrassed and angry at myself. I almost left right then. I really should have. But instead, because I didn't want to feel stupid for making a scene over nothing, I stayed. I moved to the free weights near the mirrors. I figured if I stayed in a more open part of the gym, I'd feel better. I was doing curls in front of the mirror when I saw him again. Not in the room, in the reflection. He was standing in the hallway that led to the locker rooms, just far enough back that the overhead light only caught the front of his hoodie and the lower half of his face. He wasn't moving. He wasn't pretending to do anything now. He was just standing there, watching me in the mirror. I spun around. The hallway was empty. I felt cold all over. Not scared in a loud, obvious way. Just that horrible, drained feeling when your body knows something is wrong before your mind fully catches up. I put the weights down and took both earbuds out. That was when I heard it. A phone vibrating. It wasn't my phone. Mine was in my hand. The buzzing sound was coming from somewhere behind the front desk. I walked up there, slowly this time, and called out to the employee. No answer. The stool behind the counter was empty. His phone was sitting face down on the desk, vibrating its way in a little circle from an incoming call. I don't know why that unsettled me more than anything else, but it did. Because it meant he hadn't just gone to the bathroom or stepped outside for a second. He had left his phone there. His wallet was still on the desk too. And I knew people don't leave both of those things behind unless they plan to come right back, or unless something interrupted them. I called out again, louder. Nothing. I checked the front entrance through the glass. The lot still looked mostly empty. My car was where I'd left it. The dark sedan near the broken light was still there too. I should have just walked out right then. I know that now. But I kept thinking maybe the employee had gone to check something in the back. Maybe he was cleaning one of the locker rooms. Maybe I was letting one creepy stranger get too deep into my head. Then I noticed the security monitor on the counter. It showed the camera feeds from different parts of the gym. The quality was awful, grainy and dim, but it was enough. I leaned in and checked the back section, then the front entrance, then the hallway by the locker rooms. On that hallway camera, there was someone standing just around the corner, not fully visible, just part of a shoulder, the side of a head in a beanie, and one pale hand pressed against the wall. I froze. Whoever it was standing in the exact blind spot where they could see into the gym, while staying mostly hidden from the camera. Then the feed flickered. All the camera windows blinked black at the same time for maybe a second. When they came back, the hallway was empty. I backed away from the desk so fast I bumped into the gate by the entrance. My first thought was to call the police. My second thought was even simpler than that. Get out. I started walking fast toward the front door. Then from somewhere deep in the gym, I heard metal slam against metal, not a little clink, not a weight settling back into place. It sounded like someone had dropped an entire stack on one of the cable machines. The noise echoed through the whole building. I stopped, turned, and stared into the rows of equipment. Everything looked still. Then, from the hallway near the locker rooms, I heard footsteps. Slow at first, then faster, coming toward the main floor. I ran for the front door, shoved it open, and went straight for my car. The night air hit me like ice. I clicked the unlock button before I even reached the car. The headlights flashed. I grabbed the handle and yanked the door open. That was when I heard someone sprinting behind me. Not jogging, not walking fast. Sprinting. I turned just enough to see him. The man in the hoodie was charging across the parking lot straight at me from the gym entrance. I threw myself into the driver's seat and tried to slam the door shut, but a hand hit the frame before it closed all the way. The whole car shuddered. He had one hand on the edge of the door, and he was bent low enough that I could see his face clearly for the first time. He looked terrified, not angry, not excited, terrified. "Lock your doors," he said. That's all he said. Then his eyes shifted past me, toward the passenger side window. The change in his face was immediate. His mouth fell open slightly. He let go of the door and stumbled backwards so fast he nearly fell. I turned my head. Someone was standing on the passenger side of my car. I hadn't heard footsteps. I hadn't seen anyone come across the lot. But there he was, so close that I could see my own reflection overlapping his in the glass. It was the front desk employee, or at least it looked like him. Same shirt, same build, same short hair. But there was blood running down one side of his face from above the temple, and his expression didn't look human anymore. He was smiling, but not like a person smiles. It was too wide, too still, like somebody trying to imitate what a smile is supposed to look like. I screamed and hit the lock button again. Every door clicked down. The employee, if that's even what I should call him, placed one hand flat against the passenger window and just stared at me. The man in the hoodie took off running into the darkness at the far side of the lot. I jammed the key in the ignition, threw the car in reverse, and hit the gas so hard my tires chirped. As I backed out, I looked toward the passenger side one last time. Nobody was there. I sped out of the lot and didn't stop until I hit a gas station a few minutes away that was still open all night. My whole body was shaking so badly, I could barely hold my phone. I called the police and tried to explain what had happened without sounding insane. I said there was a suspicious man in the gym. The employee had disappeared, and I thought someone might be hurt. 2 officers met me at the gas station and followed me back. When we returned to the gym, the front door was locked. The lights were all still on. Through the glass, the front desk looked empty. One of the officers knocked hard and called out. No answer. The other officer walked the side of the building with his flashlight while I stood back near my car, trying not to throw up. A few minutes later, they found the side emergency exit slightly ajar. They entered through there, and one of them called for backup almost immediately. The employee was found in the men's locker room. He was alive, but barely conscious. Zip-tied, bleeding from the head, and wedged between 2 bathroom stools. The paramedics said he'd probably been hit from behind with something heavy. The police searched the entire gym. No one else was inside. No hoodie guy. No stranger. No one. I gave my statement that night, and then another one the next day. The employee, once he was awake enough to talk, said the last thing he remembered was hearing some weights slam in the back and going to check it out. He never saw who attacked him. The detectives pulled the security footage. That should have been the end of it. It should have answered everything. Instead, it made everything worse. The footage showed me arriving. It showed the employee at the front desk. It showed me on the treadmill, then the leg machine, then near the free weights. But there was no man in the hoodie, not entering through the front, not walking through the gym, not hiding behind machines, not standing in the hallway. Nothing. The detective actually paused the video and asked me if I was sure I hadn't mistaken another member for someone staring at me. But there was no other member on the footage at all. For nearly 40 minutes, according to the cameras. The only people in that entire gym were me and the employee. Then it got stranger. At the exact time I said I'd gone to the desk and found the employee missing. The front desk camera glitched, just for a moment. The picture distorted into horizontal lines, then corrected itself. When it came back, something had changed in the reflection on the glass front doors. You could see the cardio section behind the desk. You could see the entrance mat. You could see part of the parking lot outside. And in the reflection, just for one frame, there was a tall figure standing behind me. Not the employee, not anyone I recognized. It was too thin, too long in the arms, its face hidden in the distortion. It looked like it was leaning down toward my shoulder. The detective said it was probably a digital artifact from the glitch. Maybe he was right. But the worst part of all this happened 2 days later. I was at my apartment, trying to calm down enough to sleep, when my phone buzzed with an unknown text. It said, "You should have left when the music started breaking up." I stared at that message for a full minute before I even moved. Then I checked the number. It wasn't saved in my contacts. There was no name, just a random local number. I called the police immediately. They traced it later and found out the message had come from a prepaid phone bought with cash that same morning. They asked if I had told anyone about the static in my earbuds. I hadn't. Not the police. Not my friends. Not even my family. That detail had only been in my head. A week after that, my best friend called me in the middle of the night sounding half asleep and completely panicked. She asked why I had sent her my gym location pin and a message that said, "If I don't answer, come inside and get me." I told her I hadn't sent anything. She screenshotted the text and sent it to me. It had come from my number. I checked my phone immediately. The message wasn't in my conversation history. It had never been sent from my device, at least not in any way I could see. And the timestamp on her screenshot was from 13 minutes earlier, right when I'd been standing in my kitchen making tea. After that, I changed all my passwords, replaced my phone, and cancelled every account linked to it. The police took the fake message seriously but they still couldn't tell me whether someone had copied my number somehow, or whether it had anything to do with the gym incident at all. The gym reopened about a week later. I never went back. A month after everything happened, I drove past it once by accident on my way home from work. It was late. The lot was mostly empty again. The same kind of quiet, dead look it always had after midnight. And there, under one of the lights near the front entrance, was a man in a dark hoodie and beanie, just standing there, watching the building. I kept driving. I didn't slow down. I didn't look back. I still don't know who he was. Part of me thinks he was the one who attacked the employee and fled when he realized I'd seen him. That would be the easy explanation, the normal explanation. But that doesn't fit the look on his face when he let go of my car door. That wasn't the face of someone caught in the middle of a crime. That was the face of someone who knew exactly what was standing on the other side of my car and knew it wasn't supposed to be outside yet. I think about that sentence all the time. Lock your doors, not run, not help me, not call the police. Lock your doors. Like a locked car was the one thing that mattered most in that moment. Sometimes when I'm alone at night and wearing earbuds, if my music crackles for even a second, my whole body goes cold. I stop walking. I look around. I check every window and every reflection before I move again. Because maybe it was a stalker. Maybe it was a setup. Maybe there was a second man in that gym the cameras somehow missed. Or maybe the static wasn't my headphones losing connection to my phone. Maybe it was the only warning I got that something had gotten too close to me.